academic state, the academic senate for California community colleges at the state level. And she's going to tell you a little bit more about herself and how she's, what her perspective is going into this talk and this topic today. But I hope you will join me in welcoming her. We're very happy that she can come here today and that we have decent weather and not snow. We're at the drive. So welcome. If you need it, it works.
All right, I'm there. This is my first time doing this in terms of addressing faculty other than my faculty. So excuse my nervousness and my kind of anxiety. It's an overwhelming, and I feel honored to be here and to be invited. Let me tell you how I came to be here. I guess it was May 2015, I was tapped by the State Senate, the State Academic Senate, to present on a panel of the CCLC. And then there was a surge underway. You know, we were hiring. At that time, I think we were about 1,200 new faculty hires for the state of California. So we wanted to move the needle. Tweed Nguyen, who's the legal counsel at the Chancellor's office, soon to be the first Vietnamese community college president in the state of states. She's going to Foothill. She was wanting to look at diversifying faculty to meet the needs of our students that we're serving. So I was tapped there. I met your president. I didn't think I did such an exceptional job. I was on a panel of many. I had a small nugget of information to present, and she asked me today to try to beat all those panel presenters. So excuse me, I'm not a lawyer. I'm a faculty member. I come from the side of student services. I'm an LD specialist by training. However, I have not tested in decades. I started at Compton Community College, which is down in LA, and this was before it lost its accreditation. I saw it coming. Let's edit that out. A very Hispanic, African-American, Black institution. I left there and I went to Mission, LA Mission College. I was introduced to the LA community colleges at Mission, a very Hispanic serving institution. Now I'm at West Los Angeles College, which is a very diverse campus. We've lost our PBI, predominantly Black institution standing. We're down to about 32% African American students, maybe about mid-30s, near 40s Hispanic, and we have a lot of students who are under this need to not identify. So we have a lot of students who are in that category of fail to identify, not wanting to identify, multiracial students. So those are the institutions I've served. My educational background is, I was born in Texas. I claim Texas, even though I only stayed there 14 months. And my family migrated to, the Great Migration in the 50s to California, so I grew up in California, LA area. I attended public schools. And one of the things that was a turning point and gave me the interest in education was senior year, LA High. I was in AP Math and English. I was the girls' VP. I was editor of the yearbook. And soon, when I graduated from college, was going to be the 4th generation college grad. Well, I met with my college counselor, and obviously, she didn't open my folder or looked at me and said, and no disrespect to vocational people, you need to go to vocational school. And I said, In the 2nd grade, I learned how to spell pediatrician and obstetrician because that's what I wanted to be. And so I knew where I was going. My parents made us decide where we were going to go. Out of LA, you had to go. You had to go away to school. Didn't have to go far. I went to Mills. I went far enough so that I could get home any minute. So that was my going away experience. But I knew I was going to go to college. And that moment with that college counselor turned me around in a different direction. in terms of, I still kind of wanted to do medicine, so I started pre-med, got excited, you know, as we all do when you get to college, and decided to go into psychology. So I changed my major mid-term, I guess I was a junior. I said, okay, psychology, I'm gonna be a clinical psychologist because I need to handle the kinds of students who felt the way I did that moment in high school. That didn't work out either. I got to graduate school and said, oh, no, it was gonna take too long to get there. So I ended up going into education, focusing on special education with an emphasis in learning disabilities. So that's my perspective that I'm bringing to you today. It's from a very public school-driven education in community colleges. Now, I must confess, I heard that you thought I was a dean. I have been a dean, okay? I went to the dark side for a minute. And then in 2002, we had a president that I didn't feel was the president that I could be on a team. So I retreated to faculty in 2002, and I've been happy ever since. I've been, immediately got tapped into the academic senate. So locally, I've been the senate, I'm the senate president now. Couldn't get that person to run, so I'm doing it again. Another term. I'm gonna do it 1 year, and I have somebody who's in a doctoral program. And I said, you can do a year of your studies. I'm resigning, and you take it from there. I've done my due diligence. It's time for the younger, new faculty to step in and take the leadership roles. Knock on wood. So I've been locally, several positions in the Senate. Right now, I'm serving as the ASCCC South rep, and I will be serving as Area C person coming June 1st. I was hesitant to get on the state Senate because, if I could be so blunt, it looked like what I'm looking at right now. I didn't feel that I was going to be accepted or I was going to be the one to be at that table. But in order to effect change, you have to go to the table. So I took the leap of faith, and a lot of my colleagues in my area, Area C, especially LA, kind of they were taken aback by my move to that. But I don't regret that move because there's a lot of things facing us as it relates to the students in which we serve. And I'm just not talking about, students of color, I'm talking about students. Because I've been with disabled student services, so I've seen students who have been told that by faculty members, you can't take my class. And they have a documentation to say it's my right to take your class. I've worked the full gamut. I've worked with faculty as a dean in curriculum, trying to get the curriculum in on time, curriculum reflective. I've been the curriculum dean. I've been the curriculum faculty chair. So I know what's required, thank you, of us as faculty members. So what I was asked to talk about today, seeing the faculty here and seeing the number of faculty, and you're only going to hire one faculty is what I was told. It kind of diminishes what I was focused on talking about today, which was representation matters, diversifying faculty. So we'll flow. We'll go with what I have here. And I need to, my notes are on this one, so I'm going to have to go through. This is a graph that we've been showing over the course of this year through the EEO and Diversity Advisory Committee of the State Chancellor's Office. Now the graphs have moved slightly. We've had a nudge up in underrepresented faculty hires, maybe a 2% jump as a result of what we're doing about talking about diversifying faculty. And let me preface the diversity part. It's not about color. It is about color, but it's not only about. It's about getting faculty who want to work with our students, who are not afraid of our students, who want to learn about the cultures of our students, who want to look at habits of mind, who want to consider reading apprenticeship, who want to consider cultural competence training. So that's the faculty that we're talking about, flipping the script on, getting in the door of our campuses. So the new slide should be coming out soon. Hopefully Twee will do it before she leaves. But
Excuse me, could you tell me what each of those lines represented? I couldn't read, but.
sure, let me go
Thank
back.
you.
The blue line, the darker blue line is the student, the demographics of the students in the state of California. So that's how we look in terms of underrepresented students. The yellow line is administrators. It's pretty flat. It hasn't really changed. It is what it is. Now the bottom two lines, the purplish looking line, that's the tenure track faculty. And the one below that is the adjunct faculty. So the diversity in those two groups have remained flat. It's been the same, it hasn't changed. And what had been thought of was that adjunct faculty was more diverse than regular full-time faculty. That's not the case. It's even less than our full-time tenure track faculty.
And one more question.
The red line is classified. Classified staff is more reflective of the students we serve. And you know, that's not an anomaly, it's just the way it is.
I apologize. In what year did it deflect up, the student diversity deflect up?
It deflected out in '09.
Thank you.
After the decline in enrollment, you know, we had that recession in '08. Well, it took off again. The students came back and they're coming back. Hopefully they'll continue to stay with us. Okay. So when we were looking at talking about diversifying faculty, we looked at a lot of laws, codes. So if I can show you a workforce that is continually responsive to the needs of a diverse student population, that's an ed code. It's nothing that we're creating, we're talking about, we're imposing on people. We all know that Prop 409 hit, and it took away the need to look at how we're going to hire, not only faculty, but classified staffing as well. You could not have targeted groups. You could not say, in this area, we need African-American male anymore. However, if you look at the ability, there's still laws that allow us to have those conversations. I'm not going to go into any of those laws because, like I said, I'm not a lawyer. There was a lawyer on the team that presented. But these are laws that were in place and are still in place and still effective that support us having conversations about the need to diversify faculty staff, okay? So I'm just gonna leave it at that. I do have information as it relates to that. I can send it out from the PowerPoints that the people did have. So what am I saying? The laws, regulations, policies in the world mean little without commitment from us. So we have to have that desire, that wanting to make a change in the personnel that we put before our students. Only through our own deliberate actions will this situation change. And walking over here, I'm not sure who walked me over here, she's in the back right now. And I had a different feel. When I read your website, there were 41 full-time faculty. And I just assumed you were going to have a surge in hiring. Hopefully that discipline that you're hiring, you're going to have a real full and involved conversation about that person that you get to bring on board this next year. In LA, we have 260 faculty that we're hiring. We're hiring 14 alone in my college. East LA College is hiring 52 to 60 full-time faculty this academic term. So we're in a surge and we're talking about it. And having been on the EEO advisory committee, I pushed the meeting to the point where I could as Senate President. Anyone serving on the selection committee had to go through the EEO training. And not that 2 to 3 minute kind of when you're sitting down before you interview the candidates. They had to go through the 2 to 4 hour training in order to sit on the selection committee. It talked about diversity, it talked about unconscious bias, it talked about implicit threats, those kinds of the laws, the regulations, and diversity overall. I got pushback from faculty members, older faculty members who said, I know, I don't need to go through that training. And I even got it from a social justice club member who said, I'm good, I don't need it. We all need it because we all, even if you know what you need to be refreshed about it. So I don't know, I took a look at your hiring policy. I'm not sure if the last time it was looked at, but if you have an opportunity right now, and you'll see it in the upcoming slide, where faculty need to be involved in the EEO plans, where you need to include your hiring and your post-hiring methods in your plans. Even though you're only hiring one full-time faculty, your adjunct faculty is just as critical because they're the ones that you bring on, you're putting before your students. And they many times have a bump up in consideration because we know them when they get to the full-time hiring opportunity. So you need to take that same look at your adjunct hiring that you do with your full-time. This is your mission, vision, and beliefs. And I'm going to, if you know it, because I know you can repeat it to me if I ask you. Because we all went, I don't know where you are in accreditation, but all 9 colleges just went through accreditation at the same time, including our district a couple of months ago. So we were, grilled on what's the mission statement, so I know mine very well. But in yours, I just want to point out that you do have diversity already in there, but I'm not sure what you meant. So I'm going to open it up. If you could tell me by that one statement, diversity enriches, what was the intent of that statement?
Well, the value of having diversity within the educational environment, vague statement, but that diversity amongst the students, student to student, will enrich each person's life. Student diversity will enrich classified life, just staying with that, faculty experience, and the administration experience. The problem we're having is we're not growing that diversity up through the ranks. And that would only enhance that enrichment, in my mind, is by having those interactions at all levels and between levels and engaging like that. That's at least what it means to me.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to take a stab at what you think this means in your belief statement? Yes.
Well, on a broader spectrum, culture, race, creed, just diversity. And so having a campus that's vibrant, full of different people, and the employees as well.
Let me catch up on this. Great. Anyone else?
I think too, what reflects in the community, and then we know that with diversity, we get different points of view, and different points of view help us to create something even better than what we could have done without a diverse population.
Yes.
It sounds to me also that it's responding to something, that it's saying it's a positive statement that implies a negative statement, right? That diversity, by saying diversity enriches, it's saying that diversity does not do these other things which might be more fear-driven about differences and divisions and silos and people getting into their own, being wanting to be homogenous, and so that diversity, by saying it enriches, it's saying we shouldn't be afraid of having a diverse culture on our campus, of having a diversity of students, of faculty, staff, administrators, that it's a positive thing as opposed to what might be implied for some.
Yes, sir.
Probably be more generic and just say we offer diversity of classes. I mean, not just English and math, but art too.
We do.
Art.
Even ceramics.
So
that diversity in our course offerings enriches our community.
Thank you. Yes.
Well, this is my personal opinion, but if there's no diversity among faculty, administration, and staff, at least for the students to be that diverse component, I feel that, and this is something I'm struggling with, that it's not fair or right to expect students to diversify upward, us, the faculty, and that they may want to teach us, but it's not fair to expect them to teach us, to help us broaden our understanding and make us more multicultural. As I'm speaking as a white woman, that when I do that, I feel that I'm putting them at some risk, because they have to trust that I'm not going to respond in a racist or homophobic or sexist way, or in any other sort of betray my own privilege. So if we just have a student diversity, it's really, I worry about the students.
Later on, I will show you what's called microaggressions, micro insults, micro things like when you expect that particular person to speak on behalf of their entire race, culture, that's a microaggression. And we need to watch those kinds of behaviors. When you tell somebody, just peep some of it right now, you speak better than others, you know, that's a micro insult, you know. What are you saying about my people, you know, so you need to watch those kinds of statements when you're in the classroom and you're classified staff in front of students, frontline staff. Yes.
I would just say that, to me, it actually, diversity enriches, emphasizes what it does not say. And that is that it does not say that we have a commitment to diversity. It's really, in my opinion, kind of Pollyanna. Oh, it enriches, so flowery and nice. But it's what it's not saying that's difficult for me to wrap my head around.
Is there a desire or a plan to move that in a different direction? Are you looking at revising your mission statement? I didn't get a chance to really look at detail at your educational master plan, but I could definitely say that we took several summers of faculty unpaid time and looked at where we were going, where we needed to go, the gaps that we were having, and rewrote our educational master plan to address those kinds of concerns, to address what we need to have in our curriculum. Now, I'm not saying that we're perfect, we're not even halfway there, but at least we have a plan, and we have discussion that opened up, that brought people out to consider where we were as a faculty. And even though we're growing, we'll probably be up to 130 by the conclusion of this hiring period, the diversity among our faculty, it doesn't exist like it should, being in urban LA. It's not what I would hope for it to be. And again, prefaced by not just color and race, but sexual orientation, beliefs, mindsets, all that. And I just want to share one of the things, when I talked about my experience, I won't give you the year, which I was that high school senior. But let's fast forward to 2015, last fall. I ran a predominantly black institution grant, Project Learn. It ended in September. We couldn't close the doors on those students because we had built up this hope, this dream, that they were, had a place to come, a safe zone. Many of the students that were in my program were African American. We were focused on African American men in particular, but the doors were open for anyone. So we had students in there who didn't have internet access, didn't have computers. We have a computer loan program. We had food. I had students who were hungry. Dr. Foster, how you doing today? God, I got a test, but I haven't eaten today. My pockets were drained, and they're continually drained, just to ensure that they're in a better place when they hit that classroom. One of my instructors, full-time math instructors, was engaging in the start of term trying to get study buddies together. And she prefaced Social Justice Club advisor, noted, don't have an African American as your study buddy. Class is full of African American students. What is she telling them? you'll be more successful, because when I was at Cal, people who had African-American study buddies didn't succeed, so you want to pick who you have as your study buddy. 2015, another, not to pick on math, another math faculty, those are the courses that are stumbling blocks for my students, are math. So they're constantly sharing their experiences about math. First week of school, equations set up. Slave and slave owners. These were X and Y. Mass exodus from the class. I don't know if that was intentional. I tend to believe, I'm not going to weigh in on that. But this is 2015. And we have in our mission statement, we have in our documents where we embrace diversity, but are we really walking the walk? So we still have a lot of work to do, even where we are at our institution. So what can we do? We need to look at our hiring practices. Right now, as I said, you have an opportunity to take a look at your EEO plans. And do you have a faculty member on your EEO advisory? Well, do you have an EEO advisory committee?
Yes.
Do you have faculty on there?
Yes.
I hope by June 1st, your plan, if it already is in, you have an opportunity to revise it. There are 9 multiple methods that we added into the plan that address pre-hiring, hiring, and post-hiring. So if you have hard-to-hire disciplines, there's an opportunity now for you to write in stipends, where you can bring them. Lake Tahoe is not an easy place to get to. You know, it was a beautiful shuttle ride up here. But I'm not sure how many faculty you're going to get because of where you are. Looking at your community, I'm not sure how many diverse faculty you're going to get because of where you are. So you want to look at writing in those kinds of opportunities to diversify your faculty through your plan. You want to work on your composition. I know you don't have a lot of diversity, at least visual diversity that I'm seeing right now, but you want to make sure that you have a welcome committee. That if I were to walk into your committee on an interview, I would feel welcome. If I walk on your campus and do, a lot of times you go ahead of your interview and kind of survey the campus to see what you're walking into. You want to be sure that when that happens, that person feels welcome and not isolated. That your pictures that you have of students, the pictures you have around the campus, make you feel like maybe this is the place I want to be. You know, even though it's not, when I look at the dynamics of the college, it's not there on the website, but if I walked on campus, will I feel welcome? If I walk in that interview setting, will I feel welcome? Are the questions centered around those of a diverse nature? Not just that one question. You know, many times we struggle, okay, who's gonna ask that diversity question? Is it you? You know, usually it's the person of color. You say, okay, Adrienne, there's your question. So I know what my question was, but we're flipping the script. Every question that we, on our committees, we're gonna try to infuse it so it's diversity and inclusive. So that it's just not that one question. Because you can't solicit who you're hiring from that one question. You need to have the demo as well, reflective of how you would be more culturally competent in working with students. And in fact, I'm hoping, I'm not sure, I haven't done the survey yet, that we spend 45 minutes on an interview for a full-time hire. I kind of put out there one day, come on, let's bump it up to an hour, 2 hours. Oh, we don't have that kind of time. But you want someone on your campus who's going to give to us what we want of that person. So we bumped it up a little bit of time. But we're spending more time on the demonstration because that's where you're going to see how they perform in front of students. You can go online and get the SLO question answered. You can get the student success question answered. You know, those bank of questions that we always ask. You can go online and get those answers, but you can't get the answer to the demonstration unless you see it done. So I'm encouraging faculty throughout our district to adhere to what we've been asked to adhere to, the EEO training for all committee members, and looking at how we hire, that we have a chance now to do things differently. There's an AA to MA initiative that we're trying to grow your own program. We have our students here. Maybe we want to pull those students that we see have a heart for students to kind of push them in the direction of teaching. That's grow your own. CTE, I just was at the CTE Leadership Academy, and that's going to be the way of the future for CTE. We're going to have to look at the students in which we're educating and kind of push them in the direction to come back and be the instructors for the students that are coming in. So take a look at the A. There's a math pathway right now, and there are going to be some more creative. Not a math, law pathway that's in the works, and that's, of course, Tweed was in there, started that. You want to look at your recruiting methods with your one hire. You know, I looked at that, I said, oh God, my talk is all off, because I was looking at a more mass level of hiring. But how you recruit, you want to look beyond the chronicle, look beyond the registry. You want to look, like if you're looking to hire an engineering person, look at the, like the Black engineers, the Hispanic engineers, the HSI serving institutions, the HBCU, which is historically Black colleges and universities, if you weren't aware of that acronym. Those are places that you can go. The CSU graduate schools. When I was talking with Twee about the AA to MA, I said that's going to take a little time for our students to get through the courses that they need to get the MA. We'll all be gone by the time we have the students back ready to get in front of us. So let's look at our CSU graduate programs as a place where we can go, at least for adjuncts, those who are in doctoral programs, who are completing master programs, as an opportunity to bring them on as adjuncts. Get their feet wet. Get them to know that community colleges are an option. It's just not all about research. That we need that caliber of person in front of our students. We had a talk by, I don't know if you know him, Derek Smith, Dr. Derek Smith. He was our Flex Day speaker, and we had him come back as a follow-up at the end of this year. He kind of pointed out, and it was kind of a revelation to me, is that the CSUs and the UCs have requirements of their students to enter. We educate any student that can benefit from instruction. So why aren't our teachers more prepared, better than the CSU and the UC instructor? Because the caliber of student that we're asked to teach is any student who hits our door. So the skill set, the knowledge, and the ability to interact has to be at a greater level of involvement and feeling than those of the UC and CSUs. And it was kind of an eye-opener for me. Like I said, who's on your hiring committee? How long is the interview? How is the interview structured? What is included in the application materials? Many times we ask for years of experience in community college instruction. But if you can't get in, how can you meet that desirable qualification? So are we doing a disservice to the potential instructors that we could have here? We want to look at agencies, community agencies, that have the same base of students that we're working with as an allowable or desirable qualification. It can't just be about teaching. Many of us who went through master programs or doctoral programs were not taught how to teach. We were taught content. So we need to look at other places that work with our students in terms of transferable skills. So keep that in mind with the hire that you're going to do. And future hires, not only faculty hires, but classified hires as well. How much experience is really necessary? Is a PhD necessary? We always kind of put that out there as a desirable. But what's that telling us? What added value is that going to give to working with our students other than faculty? Not to say I have one, not to say it diminishes the ability to work with our students, but we want to really look at how we announce jobs out there, because you're cutting out segments of populations that may be worthy of consideration working at the community college. The CTEs are going to have an opportunity to redefine equivalency and minimum qualifications. I hope you're in the forefront of that, because as we approach the strong workforce recommendations, you have an opportunity locally to look at how you look at equivalence, and attend the workshops that the state senate is giving in those areas, so that you're on board and you're not doing it out of sync with state regulations, but you have a chance now to really change things. Staying on script, we've always been told that you can't deviate from the set questions. You have 8 questions, you can't go off script. You can go off script, not to the point where you're asking inappropriate questions, but you can do follow-up. And it's important that we do. If you hear something that doesn't sound right, you have the right within the laws that I've already presented to go and probe in that direction. Again, how can you make the diversity question meaningful? I'm going to show you some possibilities of how that can be done. Original question, how would you deal with a disruptive student in your class? Maybe you want to change it to, how have you or would you address disruptive behavior by a student in your class, and would you approach differ depending on an individual's student's background or situation? A little twist, where you can get a different kind of answer than the regular kind of question. How do you structure a class lecture plan for a 90-minute communication studies class? Changing. How do you or would you structure a 90-minute lesson plan for extremely diverse communication studies class, including students from different backgrounds in terms of culture, religion, socioeconomic situation, and sexual orientation? When you're faced with, we have a lot of Muslim students at our campus from Ethiopia and Eritrea. So the way they view things in terms of religious beliefs is a little bit different than the urban LA kid. So how do you incorporate those cultural differences in your class to make it a positive experience for those students? So you have an opportunity, again, to look at how you map out your curriculum, how you do things so that you're more inclusive of the populations in which you serve. I need to kind of ask now, when I looked at your website, I saw your demographics. And can you kind of update me, because there were 41 faculty on there. So have the demographics shifted at all? I saw like 2 to 3% African American, 41% Hispanic, and then the larger white, non-Hispanic. Is that still what's happening at Lake Tahoe? Students, not faculty. I gotta get a bill what it's like for faculty, but student demographics.
Yeah.
Has it shifted?
More or less, that's approximately.
It is, okay.
I believe so. I mean, there's been some subtle shifts. We are seeking to represent our community more.
That's my next question. What is the community?
It's a higher percentage of higher Latino
Okay.
population, about 35 to 40%. So that's one of our efforts in 24.
Sample teaching demonstration. Original, demonstrate a lesson related to organization and coherence in a persuasive essay assignment. Assume the audience is either a transfer level composition or one level below. Changing. Demonstrate a lesson related to organization and coherence in persuasive essay assignment. Assume the audience is either transfer level composition or one level below, and include students from a variety of backgrounds and situations regarding culture, ethnicity, family, economic stability, and sexual orientation. Again, different slant, just trying to get at that diversity question infused in many other questions. Like I said, local recruiting, set up partnerships with university graduate schools. Do not rely on your college to do the work. You know the community, you know where you went to school. Send a flyer off to where you went to school to solicit individuals from there. You have instructors that you work with or like. And when Well, I went to UCLA, and I went straight through school, bad. I got my BA, got in the master program, got in the doctor program, and I was sitting in the office as a research assistant, working on other people's dissertations. And I was hearing the conversations by the instructors trying to get these individuals jobs. I heard them talking the references, the recommendations, students good, got research, da-da-da-da. And then when I heard practical experience, oh, well, you know, they did their research in the schools. I said, oh my God, I need to get out of here. I need to get in the classroom. I need to get in the workforce to see if this is what I want, number one, and to get that practical experience working with students. So I stopped. I was right there, you know, but right there wasn't going to do it for me. I needed to get that experience. So we need to make sure we're giving those students the opportunity to get here, to get the experience. Like I said, equivalency opportunities for CTE are great. Include cultural competence in your evaluations. One of the 9 methods that's in the plan for EEO is that we follow up. We ask the question during the interview. Do we evaluate that level of performance in the classroom? We generally don't. How do we really go in the classroom and assess whether or not you're being a diverse and inclusive faculty member, that you're being culturally competent? It's in there as one of the 9, but it's an asterisk 9 because we know that's a contractual situation. At least in the LACCD, to put that language into someone's evaluation, we're going to have some conversations with our union faculty to see how we can broach that subject. Not to say that you can't do it right now, but I would encourage you to consider it as an option, just the follow through, to see if the person that you did hire is the person that is doing what should be done for our students. Same thing I've been saying. Make sure that your new hires become a part of the culture. Don't let them shape it. Don't ask that new faculty, that diverse faculty person, to be the developer of the plan. They should be included definitely in it, but they shouldn't be, oh, you're here now. It's on you, you know, to make the difference. It has to be a college commitment. Questions for consideration. What things do you dislike about your hiring process? This is open for discussion right now. What would you like to see different in your faculty hiring or classified hiring? I'm gonna open it up to both. Yes.
Yeah, I think that if we don't get diverse candidates, we need to be more open as an institution to closing the hiring process and redoing it the next year. So I think that would be something I'd like to see.
And it's one of the things that, you know, we're pushing this with faculty. My question is it happening at the administration level? So we can be as diverse-minded as we need to be. Get those 3 candidates forward that are, any one of them could be who we want in the classroom. But if the administration's not there, if they're not the ones who make the final decision, as we all know, it's in the president's hand. If they're not my mindset, all is for, you know, what are we doing? So I've had presidents who took hits because of it, who got and saw the candidates, the final 3 candidates, and said, no. This was at the CCLC summit. And they said, no, we have to do better. And they were willing to throw out the selection process and start over again. But in order to not be in that, we have ways to create that not happen. If you do a little bit more outreach to places where you can get those pools established. What can you do locally to improve diversity and quality of hiring pools? I don't know what's in your communities to even go out to solicit. I don't know if there's an urban league. I don't know if there's an NAACP. I don't know if there's anything relative to Hispanic serving population where you have relationships with. I don't know. So I can't speak to your community in terms of churches. Definitely is a way in. In fact, I had a question from an instructor last week. Well, how do I do it? Well, maybe invite the pastor to coffee you know, your chairs, your deans, or whoever, invite people into your campus so they can see and feel what you're asking of them to participate in. But it has to be consistent and ongoing. It can't be a one-time thing, and that's what we've been doing for. We invite high school counselors, we invite principals, we do that one time, and then money runs out, and we don't do it again for another 4 or 5 years, so trust is important.
I think inviting community members, especially underrepresented community members, into the hiring process can be very helpful.
Into your selection committees,
Yeah,
and that's within your hiring process,
Well,
outside members?
it's not a requirement, I don't know how it's done, but we just hired a position where we had the executive director of the local family resource center as a part of the initial interview. It's very helpful.
Oh, that's great. Make sure it's in your policy, so that it's, you know, there's no backlash, that's all. Just make sure what you
Yeah, I know.
do is a part of your hiring policy, and it's faculty purview.
That was a classified position, so.
Oh, okay, oh, okay.
HR is better.
All right.
It's in our policy,
Okay, all right. That's good, maybe we can learn from that process.
We'll call it modeling, how's that?
Cultural competence, just a few closing thoughts. What can the campus community do to make the students and community feel? And this, I know you can't read it, I will send the PowerPoint to you, but this is microaggressions, this is what I was talking about. And let me just read what a micro assault is. Conscious and intentional actions or slurs, such as using racial epithets, displaying swastika, or deliberately serving a white person before a person of color in a restaurant. That doesn't happen. Micro insults, verbal and nonverbal communications that subtly convey rudeness and insensitivity and demean a person's racial heritage or identity. As an example is a person employee who asks a colleague of color how she got her job, applying she may have landed it through affirmative action quota system. And that was really the thoughts back during affirmative action time, especially when people of color were getting jobs. Oh, you know, and I heard it, you know, oh, that's an affirmative action hire, you know, you're here only because. I heard it getting in school, oh, you're affirmative action person, they had to get more of you in here. So we have to watch that. It doesn't happen as much, I'm hoping, as it did in the past, but students feel it. Students feel it in the classroom. And these are examples. First day of class, you have your students pronounce their names. And you continue to mispronounce the names of the students, even though they constantly correct you. Oh, you know, that's really a slap in the face. Anticipating students' emotional responses based on gender, sexual orientation, race, or ethnicity. Using the term illegals instead of an undocumented student. Assuming students have access to resources, technology that we think they have, and they don't. I mean, Culver City, where West LA is a very affluent area. But if you know the cycle of education in LA, students come from the east to the west. Our students that should attend West LA attend Santa Monica College because they're going east. So our students are coming from areas that they should be going to other community colleges around them. But West LA, because it's west, it has to be better. Anything west has to be better. So the resources and what they have available to them does not exist. And that's why I have to tell my colleague where I work in the Project Learn office, he stays there 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. His wife works in Seattle, so he's home alone. I said, go home and just sleep sometime. But he's there because several of our students are homeless, many of our students are homeless. So they're there to do their homework, get access to everything. So you have to be aware that all students don't have what you think they have. Making assumptions about students and their backgrounds. Just because you look like a certain way, you may not be who you think they are. forcing students, and this was really a pet peeve of mine, forcing students with non-obvious disabilities to out themselves in class, bringing them up to the front of the class during class time, reading the documentation out loud that you know, oh, you gotta take your test over in disabled student office. Okay, you know, there's a reason for for forms and papers and confidentiality. So we have to be aware of how you interact with, especially students with disabilities. Singling out students in class because of their backgrounds, engaging in conversations, debates. Oh, well, you must know about this. Can you share, you know, your experience? So those kinds of things. And it, like I said, expecting students of certain backgrounds to speak on behalf of others. So what I want to leave you with today is there's a lady, Dr. Gloria Ladson-Billing. She's out of the University of Wisconsin-Madison. She's an English instructor. And Madison has a very large Somali population there. She was having difficulty getting her students to engage in the English instruction as she had arranged it. So she decided to turn it into hip-hop. It's a hip-hop English class, and they write poetry, they dissect it. It's a higher level, it's a four-year college, so, you know, you can't only compare it to a certain extent to a community college. But we have to be willing to look at how we deliver education, how we deliver our discipline content, to make it relevant to the students in which we serve. And not just using the token names, MLK, Malcolm X, Cesar Chavez. It goes beyond that. I had a faculty member when we were talking about our academic senate for the last 6 years has taken on a theme. And it's a social justice theme. And we try to have our senate meetings where it evolves around we're in division reports, where first year, you know, that glib, who are you, faculty members, and all that. Second year, harder question, SLO assessments. What did you learn? How did you change your curriculum or how you schedule? This last year was on cultural competence and student equity. What have you done to change as a result of everything we've been doing over the course of the 10 years, I would imagine, on student equity, student success, SLO assessment? What have you changed? What have you learned to make it better for our students? That was a hard conversation I heard in terms of preparing for it, because then you have to talk to each other. You have to share your experience. You have to share what you're assessing and put it out there. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to say, this is what we're finding, this is what we need to change, and this is what we may change. So I'm challenging you as a faculty to really take a hard look at your SLO assessments, your dialogue, which is critical in terms of moving that needle that needs to be moved, I'm sure, and where we go as a faculty. So that's what I'm challenging you guys to do, is to look within and see where you can go as a faculty. And that's all I have for you today. Questions, no law questions. Any comments, concerns? Yes.
I'll just start the conversation a little bit. I mean, one of the things that I've heard is, you know, the conflicts that faculty sometimes have in their classrooms about standards versus equity, or equality versus equity. We've talked a lot about that on campus, but, you know, I've had students in my office saying that their instructor said to them, well, if you can't meet my standard is the standard, I'm not gonna, you know, I can't make special accommodations for you based on your situation, whether you're a single parent or you don't have transportation or, you know, you're struggling in some other way, I have a standard, you know, if you're not gonna meet it, you're not gonna meet it. Do you have those kinds of conversations on your campus, and are there strategies that, just for helping faculty kind of navigate, you know, not necessarily feeling like they're making special accommodations where they're not warranted, but, you know, really meeting the needs of the student
student gets up 5:30 in the morning for an 8 o'clock class, catches 3 buses, and this is real, this young lady is in tears. 8 o'clock class, instructor starts class at 8, you know, that's his standard, that's his requirement. Bus was late, and she has no control, doesn't lock the door, but makes the student feel very uncomfortable, to the point where he's asked her to leave the class because you're late and you're not, you know, you can't stay. Never asked the student why you're late. Never went up to the student during the break and asked, why are you periodically late to my class? Never knew the student had to catch buses, drop kids off, and get to the campus in time for an 8 o'clock class. Not to say that you have to make accommodation, but maybe you want to look at how you structure your class. Maybe the first 5 to 10 minutes are student exchange, going over, flipping the classroom, having them engage in conversation. So those students, especially at an 8 o'clock class, even the 5:45, 6 o'clock classes, the working faculty, the working students who are coming, doing the same kind of dynamics, picking up kids, getting them fed, getting them whatever, you know, latchkey or whatever, someplace safe, and getting to school. How we structure our class, we have to be open to meeting the needs of those students. Everybody doesn't have a car. Everybody doesn't have the 2-parent family. Everybody's not like what you see on TV in terms of that student. So it's a personal, individual conversation that you need to have within and with your students. Asking is one step in that direction. Engaging with that student as to why or what can we do to work out the need to meet that lateness. The standard issue, I hear that all the time. We're getting more students of color. You know, we're going to have to lower our standards because they're not prepared. Granted, the K-12 system is not, you know, that's a whole different kind of conversation. They're not coming out at college-ready stage. 50% of the CSU students are not college-ready either, so it's just not the community college student that is not ready for the college-level classes. But we want to look at, and that's a reality, you want to look at advisories, you want to look at prerequisites, you want to look at least informing the students of what your standards are, so that when you enroll in a class, you should be ready, like our English, it's English 101 where I am, that's transfer level English, as an advisory, because my coursework is going to be at this level. And if you don't have that, then you might not be successful. Encouraging them to go to learning resources, study buddies, cohort learning. But it's a conversation that, it's a hard conversation that needs to be had between the instructor and student. And maybe division and disciplines to see how we can do things and structure things differently. I don't have an answer other than just communication. And the students that are coming in are no different than the students that are still having problems at the 4-year colleges.
Well, what you just, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, what you just said goes back to creating that welcoming environment. Maybe the student would have felt more comfortable talking to the faculty member if he or she
Receptive.
has been more, you know, open, welcoming to the students. You know, if you're having any problems, come and talk to me, kind of thing. You know, creating that environment. I think it's super.
One of the things that came out of our discussion during Senate meeting was that setting ground rules, getting the students to set the ground rules in the class. All right, if you're late this many times, you know, and everybody has similar dynamics. My situation is just as hairy sometimes in the morning for me to get to work, you know. The dogs, the husband, you know, the whole dynamics of trying to get out of the house. So setting ground rules, if it's a collective ground rules setting at the beginning of term, then everyone knows what's required of it. So that's kind of a way that one of our instructors dealt with it, so that everyone knew what was expected of everyone, and they said it. He didn't. They said it. Yes, sir.
Really, it was something that Michelle said, that idea of unwarranted, and I think part of the evolution of.
I said it in English.
Yeah. Sorry. Let's see, I've already irritated the faculty. HR is mad at me, now my boss. definition and understanding of what's warranted. And that's part of our process.
Those are hard conversations, and get the right people to the table conversation. Yes.
I just wanted to, I really appreciate your statement on the hiring process and looking at people that maybe don't have as much experience as we would like for them to have. You know, we all need to get started sometimes, and by looking at the person and what they can bring to the table and what they can bring to the institution in different ways, not just completely based on how much teaching experience they've had, and that understanding content doesn't necessarily mean that you're a good teacher, and that we all have to start someplace. So I think that that's something that we need to do a better job of.
Framing that job announcement is critical, and not standardized
Right.
job announcements that you keep floating every year. You need to spend a little time on it. We're hiring a president, we spend a lot of time on it in terms of who we wanted as president. The board may have a different take on it, but at least we had a initial stab at it. Yes, sir.
I was kind of curious if you have any advice for technology-heavy fields dealing with that disparity in access to technology outside of class, in the sciences, in the math, where there's, or in technology fields where there is a need for students to have a certain level of technological competence.
Then I would work, I saw you have upward bound programs here. Work with your upward bound programs, get it STEM focused, work with the high school students. Let them know what's expected of them at the community college level. Try to help them get the tools they need to have with the entry level skills. So you gotta reach down to bring them up to where you need to have them when they hit your school. So you have opportunities, grant opportunities out there where you can write those kinds of grants, upward bound focused, trio focused grants that will supplement what you have in your program and aid them to get it on the side. So you gotta kind of be open to spending a little bit more time trying to develop the students that you want to have in your classroom. That's what I would say. I don't know if that's the right answer, but you have to work